on this. Michael Desch joins me now from Notre Dame, Indiana. He's a professor of international relations at the University of Notre Dame. Welcome to the programme. Tell us, why is the US Defense Secretary visiting Bulgaria, and what does he expect to gain from this NATO ally right now?
Well, he's visiting many of the NATO allies on this trip. And this is just one more stop to try to bolster, especially the frontline NATO countries in the context of the war in Ukraine. So this, and then next week, of course, President Biden will be visiting Europe as well, as part of a full court press, as we say in English, to make sure that all of the NATO allies are basically on the same page in terms of a common front in the Ukraine crisis.
And help us understand exactly how NATO can help Ukraine, because the US has been very clear that it's not sending boots on the ground to Ukraine, and there's still no word on that deal regarding Polish jets. And of course, NATO is still adamant about not imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. So how can it help? How is it helping?
Well, it's helping in a number of ways. NATO is providing munitions, anti-tank weapons, surface-to-air missiles, intelligence, and things like that. I think there's also a desire to make sure that the NATO countries are all, basically in agreement on refugee policy and other political issues associated with dealing with this crisis. But you're right, there are real limits to how far the United States and NATO will go. And even the provision, of relatively light weapons, which NATO has been providing to the Ukraine even before the Russian invasion, could be a potential flashpoint, as the attack on the Ukrainian base near the Polish border a couple of days ago suggests.
And Michael, how can NATO really prepare for, what's been described as a new reality, especially when it's land, it's air, and also cyber attacks?
Well, I think the defense situation of NATO is certainly going to be addressed. The NATO countries are going to have to, for the first time in a long time, meet their commitments in terms of defense spending. Now, cyber attacks are not a new threat. So in a way, the frequency of cyber attacks associated with Russian operations in the Ukraine may increase somewhat, but it's not a new problem. And in fact, NATO has been working on the cyber defense issue for over 10 years. So that's really nothing new.
Michael Desch, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis and your time.